Have you been struggling to schedule an appointment with your dog's veterinarian? There's actually a reason it could be particularly difficult to get your pupper seen right now. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Alpha Pop, your destination for everything dog. I'm Bernie Zilio, and I'm on a mission to answer every doggone question you have ever had about your fur babies. And today, we are talking about why it might be so difficult to get an appointment with your veterinarian right now. Fortunately, we have a veterinarian with us, Dr. Ross Bernstein. Dr. Ross is a seasoned veterinary professional and pet care expert. He earned his doctorate degree in veterinary medicine at UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine, and his work has been featured in several industry-leading publications, including the Journal of Veterinary Surgery. He is our go-to vet for everything we want and need to know about our fur babies. So welcome back to Alpha Pod, Dr. Ross.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. This is definitely a topic that hits home for me. I have personally struggled in the last couple months to get appointments or to have my dog seen by the vet. And so I'm glad we get to discuss this today. As we've mentioned before, there has been a huge influx of people either adopting dogs or buying puppies since the pandemic started because we're home more often, it's companionship, et cetera, et cetera. So can you kind of explain how this puppy boom or this dog boom has impacted, I guess, like a veterinarian's office or a veterinarian in general?
Yeah, I guess it's good that a lot of dogs are finding their forever homes rather than staying in shelters. But definitely, when people are adopting new dogs and more people have dogs, they're going to want to make sure they have their appropriate veterinary care. So they're all looking for appointments, and that's really good. Just understand that a lot of people are probably also in the same boat as you.
Okay, so that actually makes sense. I mean, it's a little frustrating for like the pet parent, but we totally understand. You guys are frontline workers in a sense. You are trying to take care of our dogs, so we appreciate you. Now, the other thing that may cause, I guess, a delay in getting our dogs seen by a veterinarian is the fact that people have been putting off taking their dogs to the vet. I think that's kind of a general statement. I think people put off going to the doctor, people put off taking their dog to the vet. How does that impact my ability to make my dog pod, for example, an appointment?
Yeah, definitely. So back in March and early April, when all the national emergency and pandemic was just spreading, we didn't know so much about the virus. Everyone was very scared. We were scared ourselves in the veterinary profession. I mean, everyone was. We were putting or canceling basically all non-emergent appointments and procedures. So anything that could wait did wait, not only just to save supplies, but also limit traffic through our hospital, limit person-to-person contact. And so then when we're trying to get back and make up for those appointments, some stuff that had to wait now is a little bit worse. And so just filling in from all those appointments that were missed, we're trying to catch up.
I can see that. That actually does make sense. And again, it's kind of crazy. We think doctors, as you've mentioned, have this magic ball, and like COVID hit and everyone was sort of like, what do we do? And that affects every profession. So it also affected vets, as you said. So that actually makes sense. The next thing I want to talk about, another reason that we could be delayed in getting appointments, is kind of a good thing. It's that people are home more often, therefore they're around their dogs more often. So can you kind of break down for us why that would result in more vet visits?
Yeah, I think this one might actually be the biggest or most contributing reason to why there's so many more vet visits, or it's harder to make an appointment these days with all the home quarantine and working from home. People are spending a lot more time with their pets, and maybe they didn't realize that Fluffy isn't actually eating that well, or she's actually vomiting a couple of times a day, or she's having diarrhea. And so they're really spending much more time with their pets and realizing that something might not be right. So it's a good thing, but it's also, there's a lot more people that are in that same boat and having that same issue.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great thing. It sounds scary, like you're noticing all these things that are wrong with your dog, but I think people are just hyper aware. We're around them more often. But yeah, I definitely see how that's a good thing.
Or another reason could be that instead of hanging out with other people, people are doing activities with their dogs. So they're taking them for more walks, hiking more, and they could be out more and doing more stuff. So they could be injured that way. I know at the time in my hospital, when we were just seeing emergent cases, there were so many more dogs. I mean, this sucks, but a lot of dogs getting hit by cars. And I would say it's more than normal. I think it might just be a factor of them out doing more things.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I've definitely gone on more hikes with Pod, who the corner of his face has joined us today. All of these reasons make perfect sense. Again, frustrating on our end, but I'm sure it's not a walk in the park for you guys either. Pun intended. But once we do make the appointment, I've noticed that it takes just being there. The whole process takes so much longer. And it's okay because we are working from home. So it's like we have more flexibility. But I kind of wanted to hear from a vet's perspective why it is that the process itself is taking so much longer these days.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up too, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, COVID. We're people too, so we can definitely be affected by the home quarantine rule. So if someone in our office gets exposed or contracts the virus, they have to stay home. Anyone they got in contact with, they have to stay home and quarantine as well. So your vet might very well be short staffed, so they're working with fewer people in the hospital, so routine procedures can take longer. Another thing that we're having to implement is all these new protocols, such as the curbside visits. So we're not having the pet owners come into the hospital anymore for consultation. So coming all the way out and back in and out and back in, that adds a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there to each appointment, and it adds up. Another thing that I might add is that, again, to limit exposure between people, we're doing a lot more phone calls. So if we're inside the office calling outside, sometimes there's the wrong phone number on file. Sometimes they don't pick up. Sometimes we just go to voicemail. I know it's very different, but sometimes the phone conversations do take a little bit longer than we planned for. So just a couple of things of why your vet visit might take a little bit longer, or why your vet might be running a little late. But we are trying to get better and getting more used to things.
No, I feel your pain. I really do. That sounds like a very tedious process, but it's the safest that we can come up with at the moment, I'm sure. So as a pet parent, I'm grateful that you guys take our safety as well as the safety of our animals very seriously. But I do want to know, like, confession time as a veterinarian, because I know, like, I'm not physically going into the vet's office when Pod needs to go, for example. Do you prefer not having the humans in there? Do you prefer just being with the animal and not dealing with whatever the parents are saying?
I can only speak for myself. No, one of my favorite parts of the consultation is interacting with the pet owner as well, and really for ultimately the pet's long-term health and really understanding what's going on. The pet owner and the veterinarian have to be on the same page and understand what's going on, what the recommendations are, what tests or need to be done, what medications need to be taken, how they need to be taken. So, I mean, sometimes for the actual examination itself, or if it's a drop-off exam, then sometimes without the owner, it can go a little bit faster. But for me, I certainly like interacting with pet owners.
Oh, you're like a nice person. No, but that's good to hear. And I think in general, it probably does paint a more full picture of whatever the animal's going through to have the parent physically there explaining things. So I guess that does make sense. Now, question for people who can't really get appointments right now or can't get appointments as quickly as they need to get them. Obviously, if it's an emergency, take your dog to whatever closest animal hospital there is. But if it's not an emergency and it's really difficult to get an appointment, what can pet parents do?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. There are emergency hospitals. There are some new places called urgent care hospitals, similar to our urgent care for people. So it's something that's not a life and death situation, but it's not something that's like a preventative medicine like a vaccine or routine ear cleaning, anal gland expression, something like that. Another thing that you can do is try calling your vet. Call and see if you've already established that relationship with your vet. Maybe they can refill a medication. Maybe they can give you advice over the phone. Maybe can recommend some diet changes, which in a lot of times can help some gastrointestinal signs such as diarrhea. You can also call your vet to see if they have appointments for drop-off exams or if they do have spots for walk-ins or emergencies. And most private practice or your primary veterinarians will have some flexibility and would be able to see you on a walk-in basis.
That does make perfect sense. And I totally, I've tried calling, I've tried showing up, but sometimes it's just so difficult. So I'm wondering if there's like something online. Like, would you recommend telehealth? I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I've actually never used it myself. So I kind of wanted like your take on that.
This is a very new space in the veterinary medicine profession. There are a bunch of new telemedicine veterinary platforms popping up. There's some that are within the practice itself where they can already take care of existing clients and pets that they've already seen. There are other new platforms where veterinarians can speak to you that you've never met before. So there is some new legislature going around, whether the veterinarian that's taking care of you can be in a different state or not, because there's some laws with regard to that. But there are certainly questions such as my dog ate chocolate, what should I do? Or my dog ate this and I'm nervous. I have this random question. Is it an emergency? Is it something that I need to be concerned about? There are some new telehealth medicine services that are very helpful in those cases.
That's awesome. We are living in such crazy times right now. But it is great to know that we fortunately have a lot of technology that can ease a lot of these stresses for us. So hopefully we can not stress out about getting an appointment with our dogs, just follow protocol. And if worse comes to worse, we have telehealth. So I'm super, super appreciative, Dr. Ross, that you joined us today in this topic that, again, hits home for me. Do you guys have more questions for Dr. Ross or myself? Drop them down in the comment section below. Again, I'm Bernie Zilio, and this is Alpha Paw. Be sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single doggone episode, and we'll see you next time.